G'day and welcome to the Infronters. I'm Execute. Today I'm joined by Dyson is here and Seerthe6th. How you guys doing?
I'm all right.
Absolutely amazing.
Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the Freelancer versus the Cutlass, but before we get started on that, if you like this video, please feel free to like this video, and if you dislike it, do the same. Consider subscribing and reading that notification bell to get all our videos if you like our content, and also consider supporting us on Patreon if you like what we do. Now that's out of the way, let's get on the video. So this is an update to a video that Dyson and Hayes did, about a year and a half ago, you reckon, Dyson?
About a year and a half ago, and a lot of things have changed since then. A lot of things.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people, once they find us, go back and actually look at our older videos and like, oh, this is so out of date, or along those lines. So we felt it would be good to go back and update some of them to a more modern timing. So yeah, I guess these two ships do follow into quite different roles in my book. They are a similar price point, so they do get compared a fair bit. But I guess we'll kick it off with you, Seer. What do you see the strengths are of the Cutlass, and what do you see the strengths are of the Freelancer? And we'll take it from there.
Cutlass gives you more diversity, and the Freelancer gives you more, I want to say, like it's more tailored toward the mission runner and the person who wants to do a little bit more with combat. That's why I feel like the Freelancer leans toward. I
Okay.
personally prefer the Freelancer over the Cutlass because I don't know, there's something about the Freelancer that I always enjoy. There's nothing wrong with the Cutlass, but I just prefer the Freelancer.
Yeah, I kind of myself, I find the Cutlass is a little bit more combat orientated, but you're saying it's the Freelancer that feels a little bit more combat orientated.
For me.
Yeah,
For
okay.
me.
It's interesting. And I think as a whole, if you take all the variants in as well, I think the Cutlass still kind of feels a bit more combat-y based to me, where the Freelancer seems a bit more cargo utility based. But yeah, Dyson, your thoughts on the strengths and weaknesses of those two?
Well, for Baby's first starter ship, that is multi-crew in this case, because you have to look at it this way. This is the first multi-crew ship most people will probably pick up following progression. It really depends on what you're into. If you're into short-range missions, I highly recommend going with the Cutlass because it is really geared towards those short-range missions that you'll be doing. And if you're looking at longer range stuff or long-term stuff, the Freelancer is hands down the better choice. It depends on what you're doing.
I think he's right there, see. I think that's something that I didn't consider. Definitely short range versus long range. I'd agree with that. I think the Freelancer is got that longer term living type utility. It's got more beds. I don't know. Do you agree with that? What Dyson said, or?
I mean, yeah, it does have more survivability because of the beds. I just feel like the Freelancer for the new person gives them, without having to change much, gives you better opportunities for like survivability because you have more shields, and then versus the Cutlass having four gimbal size twos, and then the also have the turret, which is more offensive, and the pilot can use it as well versus the Freelancer that can't. But I don't know. Again, there's just something about it. I just like enjoy. I just always lean toward the Freelancer for some reason.
It does have
But
a more unique style, I think.
but the Cutlass does also crap on it with all its missiles
Mm.
compared to the Freelancer, like cutting in, I believe, in half or something.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing that really needs to be looked at if you're looking at combat is also turret placement, because as you said, it's more offensive, and that's actually the biggest drawback to the Freelancer, in my opinion, is its turret placement, because there's a constrained, like made dead spot arc, which really doesn't even fit covering your cargo bay door. And it actually hurts some of the combat capability, because one thing that the Cutlass has as a dropship is not only those drop seats, but the ability to easily get a vehicle back there. And that turret in the Freelancer makes it really hard to get a vehicle back there sometimes.
I think that's what I was kind of implying when I said the Cutlass is kind of that jack of all trades for me. It kind of does a lot of little things well. Yeah, it's like a mini Connie in a way, the Cutlass for me, but yeah. The other thing I'd like to talk about is some drawbacks of each of these ships. Now, I'll start this one out and kind of say, for me, I think the Cutlass has the slight advantage, and the reason for it is I think it's had the more recent rework. I don't think the Freelancer is going to get another rework, but I think it's the tubular, long nature of the ship that kind of turns me off. It feels like an airline ship. Do you know what I mean? Like, it feels like maybe that's why you like it, see, because it feels like an aeroplane that you're used to. No? I don't know.
No.
I'm just curious on that, because to me the tubular nature of it kind of turns me off a bit. I feel like it's not as claustrophobic in the Cutlass, but that could just be me, and that is an aesthetics thing. It's not anything to do with the stats or anything like that. That's just purely aesthetically. I think the Cutlass has just got a bit more aggressive styling. I think the Freelancer is a bit more utilitarian. Your thoughts on something that's probably more negative on both of the ships?
Uh, I just don't like the way the Cutlass looks in terms of the front wings. They're
Mm-hmm.
always the front wings and the engines are always notorious for getting shot off in combat.
Yep.
And when you do, you lose a very important hard point.
Agreed.
You for sure lose one of your hard points, and the top one, it's at a better spot. And then with that being said, the speaking of utility, if I remember correctly, the Cutlass has two tractor beams on the
Yeah.
It
stabilizers.
does.
If you get them ripped off, you lose those tractor beams. So
That's
that
true.
means you lose more of the versatility.
Mm.
And they also act as stabilizers as well. So theoretically, if you're in atmosphere, you should be incredibly unstable. But we're not going to get into
Yeah.
physics and aerodynamics and such. But that's mainly it for me. Rather
Yeah.
than that, I mean, the Cutlass is still a good ship.
What about you, Dyson? What's some drawbacks for both of the ships that you see?
Freelancer, the back turret. Again, for me, it's not as much
Yeah.
the fact that it feels useless, but it's also that it blocks so much of the cargo bay for getting, again, fitting a single dragonfly or knocks in. That's just so annoying to me, trying to get around.
Can I just mention something along those lines? I do find that kind of slightly interesting when it comes to the guns on both these ships, because the Freelancer's got those massive big cannons, where the Cutlass kind of has the better turret. They're kind of like slightly inverse of that. Like yeah, the real draw card for me on the Freelancer is those big guns, where I think the Cutlass is a lot more evenly spread when it comes to weapons. But yeah, and sorry, continue. Sorry to interrupt you.
Well, before I go back, I just want to say also auto gimbal
Mm.
really does make the Freelancer a little bit better in that
Yeah,
respect.
it really
I don't
does.
know, because remember, the pilot can utilize that top turret when there's nobody else using it as well. So theoretically, you
Yeah, he's
have the
got you
four
there.
size two, you have the four size twos, and the turret altogether has two size threes.
Mm.
So that is pretty decent. It's just the fact that if you're a smart pilot and you have a Freelancer, since the Freelancer has ballistic cannons to come off the bat, if you're able to, you can tear off a wing and make the Cutlass lose a portion of its DPS compared to the Cutlass going against you. They have to get really close in order for them to make you ineffective, because once you get really close with the Freelancer, one of you lose range of motion on one of your guns because
Yeah.
they only can go so far.
I've,
So effectively, if they're in front of you, only one turret out of both can hit. So then your effective DPS is cut in half until you can push the gap again, or if you
But
want to use missiles.
long term though, they've stated that those turrets on the side of the Freelancer will be able to be controlled remotely. So if you can actually get someone, that gives you a massive firing arc on that ship, and the power of those. So if you can actually fire sideways, now I know we've talked about side turrets not being that effective,
Yeah.
but just even the chance to fire them sideways, and I know it's only like one of them, but still, if you can get a shot off, that's got some punch, some
Like that's a
pizzazz.
little bit, but
And
it's
also you
still
can still
the
shoot
range of
up.
motion still cut in half.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
even
When
looking
they're
at it,
close.
even the ability to shoot down at targets like land targets, that might be a strength that the Cutlass just does not have in comparison, because it's more controlled.
Well,
But yeah,
for my negative for the Cutlass, though, I'm
sorry.
going to specifically mention missed opportunities is the biggest one, because you have the side doors. Side doors are great in space, but it's not like I can get back in or get after jumping out troops that way. That's a huge missed opportunity, having some sort of elevator or just like even a ladder or something to get up. Or even the ability to, in future, to add a side turret gun there would be absolutely amazing.
That's something I would agree with. I
Yeah.
wish they kind of did the same thing with the Valkyrie for that. You were able to swing out a door
Yep.
gunner and suppress while you can drop some troops off.
Mm-hmm.
Either the back or the side, whatever works for a hot landing.
No, the other one that came into my mind now you've mentioned it is the Freelancer, and I'm talking about just the stock variants here. The docking collar. We now know the red's got a docking collar, and that might carry on onto the blue and the Cutlass, but the Freelancer still retains that docking collar, where the default Cutlass is now, it used to have one on the floor, but that's gone now.
Yep.
So we don't know what potential benefits that has going down the line as well.
And but yeah, the missed opportunities there are just massive, and also the way the tractor beams are working, I'm questioning the placement of those tractor beams specifically.
So to caveat on that, if I remember correctly, so those tractor beams are on utility hardpoints. So that means, again, the Cutlass is going to have even more versatility. That's why I say I feel like the Freelancer was more oriented toward someone leaning toward more combat, and the Cuddy was leaning towards someone who wants to do a little bit of everything. Because who knows what we're going to get for utility hardpoints? It could mean you could put something else rather than just the tractor beams on the sides.
Yep.
Rather than with the Freelancer, you don't have that versatility. You can do more cargo running, but you're kind of more on fixed of just being a daily trader. With the Cutlass, you can probably grab something, put it in the back with the tractor beam or whatever, and make that your cargo, which could be in higher value. So again, while the Freelancer is a general good starter, the Cutlass does offer a ton of more versatility because of
Yep.
what it currently has and what the future capabilities of the ship is. So look at it. If you're a new player, don't just look at what the ship has now. Look at the longevity of the ship. What is they said is going to add. I understand things are always subject to change, but
Yep.
just keep an eye out too, because that's what a lot of people look into these ships, what it offers in the future.
All right, well, on that note then, I'll start with Dyson and we'll go backwards this time. So what is one fix that you would like to see for each of the ships, and how would you go about it? So, like, I guess with Dyson,
Yeah.
my fix for the turret that you've talked about is I'd probably move the fuel scoop to the bottom, but I'll let you talk about that. But yeah, go ahead.
The turret, I would make it a remote, specifically entirely remote turret, so you don't have the things blocking the cargo bay. And I would actually move the fuel scoop forward, because I'm not as worried
Forward,
about the
okay.
forward shooting, because the big thing I see about that is not just keeping someone off your tail, but also mainly covering your cargo bay. So let's say you're on a planet picking up like a black box or something, you can have someone back there covering your retreat back there to your cargo. Or if you have cargo and you're doing a trade, you have that ability to protect it. And on the Cutlass, add the opportunity in the future for a side Gatling gun out those doors. Put a ladder or some sort of elevator on the side doors, because I love the side doors. I love the versatility it gives you. But
I think they've actually mentioned adding in the Valkyrie how it's got that thing you can like pull yourself up and do. They have actually mentioned doing that in the Cutlass, so I think that is on the cards in that regard.
Yep.
Right, Sia, any two fixes that you'd like to apply for those two?
For the Cutlass, I would just say I would have to wait for the implementation of their new damage model along with armor, because I'm pretty sure armor is going to fix the issue of just immediately shooting and just ripping off one of the wings. I would hope, at least. That's mainly it for the Cutlass. It's still a really good ship, and I'll say interior lighting pass make it just a little bit brighter.
Yeah, agreed.
Gun racks are good. That's another thing. The Cutlass has gun racks. The Freelancer doesn't. But
Yep.
again, the I would say add the door gunner for the Cutlass to just give it like a gun utility slot for it for the door gunner. That's it. And I'm sorry, for the Freelancer, that is not even a fuel scoop. It's just a random air scoop. I really feel like it's just to protect the backside of the turret. But instead of protecting it, they kind of nerfed. They kind of hindered the ability. That thing has absolutely no point to serve, in my opinion. I would say remove it as well.
I think it's for
And
the
with
DIR
that
though,
being,
because I think in the DIR it gets bigger, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think it actually has got more of a scoop function on the DIR, but I do agree. I think it could
it's
either
more
be
of an air scoop that does nothing for the regular Freelancer. So
Yep.
I agree with him. That's always been my thing. Remove that and make it a remote turret, because I mean, what then you can at least put a vehicle in the back. I don't necessarily think you need 4 seats up front unless every single person has a job. You have your pilot, your first officer for your components, you have somebody in the back for the turret, then what's the fourth person do in
The
the
side
in there?
guns
Yep.
when they get
If they
functionality
get
eventually.
Yep, that is true. He's got that as well.
okay,
Um,
the side
and
guns.
you could technically have one person on each turret as well. For me, I think the freelancer, the two fixes are like what Dyson mentioned, or the moving of the scoop, but also the Corsair has a turret on the back door. I think you could also just move the turret from the back to the back door and give it better coverage for covering it. That could be an option, and making it remote, as you guys have suggested. I think that would be an alternative option, just to what Dyson said. There's not a lot wrong with the Cutlass in my book. I think the lighting is a big issue that could be fixed. I do have some weird issues with the turret's coverage sometimes, and that's just because it's such a small ship. It can be hard to rotate. But as turrets go, it's in a lot better zoom position than most ships, as you stated with the damage model as well. But I think that'll all be fixed with the armor. I think probably the big one I'd take away is what you said, is the lighting. It is a very, very dark ship, especially with what we discussed on yesterday's video about the Cutlass Red. Okay, I've got nothing else to add unless you gentlemen have anything else to add. I think we can wrap it up there. No?
Well, one thing to take into consideration is like I always say, please, if this is your first time watching and because you want to buy one of the two, just remember the stats are always subject to change, and that just because you look at what the ship has on stock,
Yep.
don't let that intimidate you because of the potential. I understand things like the Freelancer has one more shield generator compared to the Cutlass, but the Cutlass I think has overall a higher HP
Yep.
pull, and I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, the Freelancer has has two size 3s and two size 2s on either side, so that means it has 16 missiles altogether, and I believe the Cutlass has 16 as well. But with the Freelancer, since most of your most of your missiles are external, you can add missile racks and potentially have more missiles than that. You drop down a size, but you give yourself a little bit more versatility. So for both ships, do your research,
Yep.
figure out how hard points work, figure out how components work, and then make your decision.
Try
Play
and
around with
get a
customizers and
test
stuff.
drive too, if you can. Find someone that's
Use
got
them
it.
in Arena Commander.
Yep.
And if you have a friend, let you ask him to use it before you just go and buy it. I'm pretty sure both of them are able to be used within the game, either by renting or purchasing. I don't have the stats in front of me to tell you that, but just don't go head on into a decision without doing your proper research first. Just like buying a car. I understand it's a game, but we want to make sure you get the best bang for your buck.
Yep, that's right. Dyson?
I was just going to say one other thing. Think about your future. Like if you're just wanting to do cargo runs and you want to get the Freelancer, cool. But if you're going to be upgrading, using that as an upgrade platform, maybe think about some of the other things you might want to do and look at the other. Or if you want to be doing primarily combat stuff, look at the Freelancer so you can do more of your cargo running and then do some of your stuff. So that way your ship isn't redundant.
Yeah, and tailor your ship to what you actually want to do in game, I think, is really important. So one man, what the Freelancer or the other one works out better to take the Cutlass, and we can't tell you what's the best for you. You need to figure that out for yourself, and that's a really important takeaway. To buy the ship that is right for you. I think we'll leave it there, unless you gents have got anything else to add.
I think that's good.
He's been Dyson is here. I'm Execute, and he's been Seerthe6th, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See you around.